podcast. I'm your host, Jay and Gay, and today we got Nick Winkler on with Locked On 49ers. Always a pleasure to have him on the podcast and talking some football with us. We're going to talk about San Francisco and some other things. But, Nick, thanks for joining us today on the podcast.
Yeah, my pleasure, Jay.
All right. So, as we mentioned before, busy week 4 in the NFL this past weekend, and a lot of good games and a lot of close contests. And then you had some blowouts as well. That's what we had with the 49ers and the Rams yesterday, last night. Nick, I mean, the 49ers just absolutely throttled them. 24-9. I mean, LA couldn't do anything, really through the air or the ground. The defense had 7 sacks for San Francisco. Just talk about, the keys that you took away from the game and what made that win so impressive for San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, you mentioned the defense, right? This is easily the best defense in the NFL. If you take out, a pick six or a block kick return for a touchdown and a safety, they're averaging 9.5 points a game allowed. Like, that's going to win you a lot of football games. Nick Bosa currently leading the NFL with 6 sacks. This is a team that they can just get after it on defense. Drake Greenlaw had 12, solo tackles last night. Yeah, Travarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley just they did the bend don't break thing, right? Where they let Cooper Kupp get all those catches, but he didn't really do anything with them. It's like, yeah, you've got about 8 yards, but now you've got 3rd and short, and then, now we're going to stop you, which is what the defense did repeatedly. Matt Stafford, he tried to throw 3 to 4 interceptions last night. It was just a bad football game for him. And I think that has a lot to do with this defense because they are legit. The offense, they do just enough, right? I mean, Deebo Samuel, he is just a magician when you get that ball in his hands. Tough to bring down, make you miss, make you run through you, run by you. He's got so much speed. And Jeff Wilson showing a little bit of speed there out of the backfield too. I think my favorite stat of the game, Jay, is a small one. Right? It's the Deebo Samuel only had 2 carries in the backfield because you don't want him running the ball up the middle. Yeah. It didn't look good 2 weeks ago when he got beat up over and over with that same play call. So I really liked seeing that. And of course, I like seeing the 49ers win that football game.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Deebo Samuel, 6 receptions, 115 yards, 1 touchdown. That touchdown was a 57-yarder where he broke like 3 or 4 tackles, including one of all-pro corner Jalen Ramsey, shall we mention, who's had a bit of a rough year, but still, amazing player. But yeah, Deebo he wanted it more. He took it to the house, and he just had a great game overall. Jimmy Garoppolo, man, let's talk about him. I mean, he stood back there in that pocket, was still, even without Von Miller, a really good Rams pass rush, but they didn't really get home. They didn't really affect the game, and Garoppolo stood in there, made those passes, ended up being 16-27 for 239 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, no turnovers, right? I think the last time we talked, we mentioned the key for the 49ers, it's like don't turn the football over, just let that defense do their thing. Offense, just do enough, right, and don't turn the football over, and that's what they did last night.
Yeah, there was a call, I think it was in the third quarter, late in the third quarter, something like that, where they had 4th and 2, from inside the 5-yard line. And people were like, well, why didn't you go for it? Kyle, what are you doing? And he's like, well, because the defense is playing so well, let's go up 8 points and let our defense do their thing. Because if you go for it and you don't get it, you put a lot of pressure on that defense to just keep them from scoring. Because if they go down the field and score a touchdown, now all of a sudden you're behind. So to me, I thought it was a great play call from Kyle. It was really knowing what was happening in the game, getting a sense for how your team was playing, right? The offense was doing all right. You had a couple of really big plays, couple of plays over 20 yards that were fantastic. Jimmy Garoppolo doing just enough. He made a couple of great throws. He also made a couple of throws where like, oh, man, I'm so glad there wasn't a safety back there because that overthrow could have easily been intercepted. Like, he did enough, right? Deebo made magic happen last night, and that was a lot of fun to watch. And the team overall, that's a good win. It's a great win. It's a needed win. All the teams right now in the NFC West all have 2 victories. You can't fall behind the Rams like that. This isn't a very good Rams team. And they did it all behind a makeshift offensive line too, right? Trent Williams still not playing at left tackle. McKivitz was in there. He got hurt, so they had to go to more. Like Burford was just getting run through at right guard by Aaron Donald, so they had to make a switch there. Like, there was a lot of trouble, a lot of moments in this game where it felt like it could easily slip away from the 49ers. But to their credit, they didn't let it happen. They persevered. They made the big plays when they needed to make the big plays. Tufanga's interception return for a touchdown, huge in that game. I mean, that was kind of the sealer, right? That was kind of like the boom. There it is. huge. And he even said, it was funny afterwards, they interviewed him and they're like, tell us about that interception. So I'm not gonna lie, like I jumped it. I kind of thought what was gonna happen. I jumped it and the ball just hit me in the face. Like and I made a play and I thought I was really scared that Matt Stafford was gonna catch me. And so they actually clocked him and he came in at over 21 miles per hour running too. And that was kind of his big downfall coming out of college, was that he wasn't very fast. He ran a slow 40 time, and his game speed is clearly a lot faster than his running with nobody around you speed. And Hufanga's just a playmaker. A lot of fun to see. This defense, just a lot of fun to watch, man, up and down the line. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I've really been impressed with how the 49ers have built that defense over the last couple of years. Because remember, that was a concern, about 3 or 4 years ago when Shanahan kind of first took over and, they were still figuring themselves out, right? Defense was a concern, but they built that defense up, getting guys like Fred Warner and Al Shire and those guys. And they're just playmakers, guys that, just go out there and they just give it their all, and they know the game of football. And, and of course, Nick Bosa, right? Just 14 pressures by himself in that game. Just talk about how important he is for that defense.
He's just a game changer. You have to account for him. Stafford knows he's there every single play, and he can hear him getting closer, right? That's Bosa, man. His engine never stops. And what's incredible, too, is he's doing this all without a lot of his key guys around him, too, right? Javon Ginla didn't play last night, who's the man in the middle there that stuffs it up. And then Eric Armstead started the game, but then he was out shortly thereafter with that foot injury kind of recurring. So he's just a beast out there. And if you could actually get him out there with a fully healthy defensive line, man, it just watch out. Drake Jackson's starting to look good too. Their second round pick. Like, if they get healthy and they get right, this is already the best defense in the league. This could be a historic season for them.
Yeah, and I just have to give them a lot of credit, especially to second year DC DAmico Ryan. So for after Robert Saleh left to go into New York to be the head coach, and everybody's like, okay, who's going to lead this defense, and they promoted DAmico Ryan, who I believe was the linebackers coach before, if I'm not mistaken, and promoting him defensive coordinator. He's done a great job since he took over that job. Just, it's amazing, and the defense will always continue to be a staple of San Francisco and the offense, Kyle Shanahan and just it's the San Francisco, has really been a very interesting story, and how they've come up, just even in the Super Bowl, just being short, but, just always competitive every season, so that was very interesting to see. So moving forward, man, what can the 49ers take away from this game moving into next week, against, I don't remember who they play next week.
Panthers.
Panthers, yeah, against Carolina with iffy offense. So what's the, what do they need to take away from this matchup? The Rams.
Yeah, I think the 49ers are in a great spot going forward, right? This was one of those games where it was a get-right game, and they own the Rams in the regular season. That's 7 straight wins over that squad, and that's just an impressive number up and down the line. And it all, it has a lot to do with Kyle Shanahan and his play calling. And you mentioned Robert Saleh leaving, and they lost Mike McDaniel last year to Miami as offensive coordinator, and we're probably going to lose DAmico Ryan's at the end of this season because he's going to go get that head coaching job. So that's the problem with success, right? And the problem with being around a genius who makes you better at your job is you move on, and then the team has to replace you. So that's something the 49ers are going to have to, worry about in the offseason. So you kind of focus on the positive right now, right? And that's just, this defense is fantastic, and DAmico Ryan's fantastic. So you go and you play a Carolina squad that's struggling right now. Baker Mayfield looked like trash last week. Like, he just looked so bad. Every time I tuned in and watched that game, it's just like, bad pass again. Oh, hey, he completed a pass. Look at that. Hey, there he is again, Bakering it up. Like, it just wasn't good to watch. They started getting Christian McCaffrey more involved in the offense and finding ways to get him the ball, which is their key, right? That's how they win football games. And they haven't done that a lot. And I don't think they're going to do it this weekend either against 49ers. I think they just need to go in. It's like we talked about before. Jimmy, don't make the big mistakes. Be smart. Run the ball with Jeff Wilson. Get that defense out there. Smack him in the mouth. Make some turnovers. Win the football game.
It's that simple, right?
It's that easy. That's the formula.
A very simple formula, and one the 49ers are very capable of executing, and one that we've seen them execute, especially, again, against a very, very just, weak Panthers offense, and they thought Baker was going to be the answer, at quarterback, and now it's just been a bit of a train wreck, and Matt Rule's status is up in the air, and the Panthers got a lot going on right now, so this would be, I think the 49ers are really going to get after them, and after that they play against the Atlanta Falcons as well. They actually got a win over the Browns yesterday, Sunday. So yeah, man, a lot of interesting football going around the league this year. It's been, I don't know if you noticed, man, it feels like it's been a little bit more even. Now it's like it's getting even each and every year. It's like the playing field is kind of leveling out a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of those things that they want in the NFL, right? Parity. They want any team to be able to all of a sudden go out, win 10 games, and make the playoffs. Like, that's what keeps everybody's fan base interested. I mean, my brother is a diehard Lions fan. He's been one his entire life. He was a Barry Sanders fan growing up, and so he actually got to meet Barry Sanders, and that just sealed the deal. Like, yeah. Plus, me and my dad were Niner fans, and he just wanted to go against us. And so what's the opposite of red? A lot of times it's blue. So that's why he went with them. Like, there was this whole thing when we were kids. But he stuck with them all this time, and every year he talks about it like, oh, they're going to be back. You just wait. Like, it's because of that parity, right? And the Lions are showing it right now. This offense is fantastic. They're the number one scoring offense in the NFL.
They sure
are.
They
just put up, 35 points this weekend without Swift and without Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, this is an incredible what they're doing right now behind Dan Campbell in Detroit. It's fun to watch them play football. If they could tighten it up a little bit on defense right now, they win a few more games. But it's what you said. It's everywhere. It's everywhere you look. Any team could all of a sudden go on a 3 or 4 game win streak, and then they're right back in it. So that's what the NFL wants. They want to keep everybody interested. They want to keep all those markets happy and tuning in week to week, and they do it. And that's what the salary cap does, right? That's why the salary cap's there. It's there to make sure that not one team can all of a sudden build a dynasty and go out and outspend. You look at baseball and like what the Yankees do versus what like the Oakland A's do. And there's like a $200 million difference. It's ridiculous. It's stupid is what it is. It doesn't make for fun product on the field. I'm actually going to an A's game tonight because I could get 5 rows up, behind home plate for pennies on the dollar. So I'm going to go have some fun at a game tonight. I'm going to enjoy myself. But if that was, if I was trying to go to a squad that's, spending $150 million, I wouldn't be able to do this and take my kids to a game. So it's awesome. I love it. I love what the Falcons are doing right now too. I'm a little concerned for them as a fan of football for Patterson because he's been so good and now he's hurt, right? So tell me a little bit about Aljair. Like, I know he's a rookie. I know he got some good run in this last game. Like, is he the real deal?
Well, yeah, man. And what's interesting is in that game, the Falcons. Okay, Marcus Mariota, quarterback. It's been a little bit of a rocky start for him. We already mentioned this before here in Atlanta, and he only completed 7 passes on Sunday. He went 7 of 19, and after a very, very crucial interception, Arthur Smith went out and ran 14 straight runs. I mean,
that tells you a lot about what he thinks about his quarterback. Yeah.
I mean, 14 straight runs, and they played Caleb Huntley, guy who was an Atlanta native. Went to Locust Grove High School down here, and he is a guy that has been working so hard. They call him up from the practice squad, and he gets the call, and he ends up with finishing with, I believe, 6 rushes around 50 yards, just first down after first down. We're just getting down the field, running the football, just that outside zone to the right, which we've seen so many times with Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, like that, just that running the ball, getting behind those tackles and just getting in that hole and, accelerating, right? And Tyler Algier had a couple good runs as well, so he finished with 80 yards rushing actually on the ground. So it was really good to see these young backs get in there and get involved. And I believe, with Patterson out being 4 weeks, on injured reserve, they're going to have to step up, especially against a Tampa Bay defense that's really good, which didn't look too good against the Chiefs on Sunday night. But we can expect them to be on their A game on Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see how the Falcons attack that moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like Drake London. I really like what they're doing over there in Atlanta. I just think that, the quarterback play is a big question mark. I know it has a lot to do with all that dead cap money. I get it with Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. But I like what they're doing. I like their draft picks. They've made some smart moves there in the front office here with not a lot of room to play with, right? When you cut a guy like Matt Ryan, who's clearly done, we can go talk about Indianapolis next and just what another dumpster fire that is right now. But it seems like they got out at the right time. Julio too can't stay on the field last couple of years. That's kind of been his MO, unfortunately, for such a talented wide receiver, an amazing wide receiver. So they got out of there before it got too bad, and unfortunately for them, they had to eat a lot of those salaries. But it is what it is, right? They knew what they were doing. They knew what they did in the draft. I think they made some great moves. I still like what they're doing. And if they can go out and put up a solid performance against the Bucs, why not win that football game? Why not, right? This is the NFL. Anybody can win every week. It's parity. Let's
Sunday.
go.
Yeah, that's right. Any given Sunday, man, and it's – you never know what's going to happen. Things can change from one week, to the next, from one year to the next. We saw how dominant the Rams were last year, and now they're struggling this year. And, it's like I think Little Caesars might terminate that sponsorship there with Matthew Stafford right after no more pizza. But yeah, man. And so on that note, man, who are some teams that are – or if there's one really majorly that concerns you, as we head into week 5 at this point in the season?
Yeah, it's got to be the Philadelphia Eagles, right? They just look like everything they're doing right now is magical. You know what it reminds me a lot of is kind of how the Arizona Cardinals got started last year, right? Where everything Kyler Murray did just worked. It didn't matter if he was chugging it down the field, if he was running it, if he was handing it off. Like everything just seemed to work out for them early in the season. But then we saw how their season ended, right? And it just got really bad at the end. They lost a bunch of games and then just fizzled out. So you hope that doesn't happen for the Eagles from an NFL fan standpoint, because Jalen Hurts is exciting to watch, man. He's got a couple solid wide receivers. That run game's not too shabby. Like the defense is playing well. They set them up for victory almost immediately last week with that touchdown that they scored. So they obviously are a force to be reckoned with, and they haven't lost a football game, only undefeated team still rolling out there. And that is the team that, right now I think is the team to beat in the NFL, not just in the NFC.
Yeah, the Eagles are having a great season. A lot of people were skeptical about Nick Sirianni stepping in there for a guy like Peterson, who really was leading that culture there. Won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. Everybody's like, man, is this guy gonna? Is he the right guy to be the head coach? And they had a little bit. They made the playoffs in year 1 under him. Of course, Bucks, you're not gonna. But then now this year they're 4-0. They're rolling. They made some good moves in the offseason in the draft, picking up Jordan Davis, and some other guys, and then trading for AJ Brown, right? Just adding to that firepower. And so yeah, the Eagles are the team to beat, I think, right now. And on the opposite end, I believe, another team that we thought was going to be like that, maybe get to that hot start, was the Indianapolis Colts, but they're doing just the opposite. They're struggling right now, man.
Yeah, and then Jonathan Taylor now, he's got the injury. He might not even play on Thursday night. Like there's a lot of stuff going wrong with the Colts right now. And so, yeah, it's just at this point, it's hard to see how they can fix it because, Matt Ryan just isn't delivering the ball to his wide receivers. Like he's just not getting them out there. And so they're stacking the box and they're making sure that Jonathan Taylor doesn't beat him, and he's getting beat up. And that's not what you want, when you got, a guy who's one of the best running backs in the NFL and he just can't even get started. He's getting hit as soon as he's touching the ball. He's running into his own lineman because the holes aren't opening up. And yeah, it's really bad to see what's going on right now in Indianapolis if you are an Indianapolis fan. A little bit scary what's happened in Miami too with all the Tua stuff. They look like they could be a force to be reckoned with as well. And now you don't like the concussion stuff. You don't like the head injury stuff, obviously. That's a bad thing for them. But, that being said, they still have a great offense, powerful. Teddy Bridgewater, he can get some stuff done. He doesn't have quite the deep arm that Tua had. But I think that, they're a team that could also make some noise there in the AFC. Kansas City showed again how great they are. We haven't even mentioned Buffalo, who might be the best team in the AFC. So there's Baltimore. Like there's a lot of teams out there. I like what Kenny Pickett did in Pittsburgh too. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a little run here now that they've kind of made the changing of the guard, with Trubisky being announced as the number 2 today, and they are going to give Kenny Pickett kind of the show. They're gonna be like, guy, we like what you did when you came out there. Keep it going. See if you can keep that going, because he's got a lot of weapons on offense too, and they haven't even found a way to get Chase Claypool involved. And if they could figure out a way to get him the ball along with everything else they got going on, I like it. Obviously the loss to TJ Watt sucks, for them for the time being, but they didn't put him on, and they didn't rule him out for the rest of the year. So if he could figure out a way to get back on the field, yeah, that's a defense that could go out there and win that North.
Yeah, the Steelers. Yeah, that's the thing they've kind of been struggling offensively just to get some rhythm established over these first couple weeks of the season, and that's the main thing for them. And I feel like once they get that going, I mean they can make a run. And with Kenny Pickett now at quarterback, it's just you add a little bit more dimension to that game, and so it'll be interesting to see how they move forward with that offense. Hopefully they can get some things clicking, get George Pickens involved more. Your draft picking, get, of course, the ball to Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, these guys, and of course we all know about Najee Harris. So yeah, the Steelers are another team you have to just keep a small little eye on, as we move throughout the season here. And I did want to get your thoughts on the Bills and that comeback win over the Ravens, man. I mean, dude,
I think the Ravens blew it, don't you? I think the Ravens blew it when they were tied 20-20 and they went for it on 4th and 6 or 4th and 8. It's like, just kick the field goal, take the lead. What are you doing? You're going up against a Bills team that puts up a lot of points, that can win a lot of games, and they didn't even have to go down and score a touchdown. They stopped short. They started kneeling, when they're inside the red zone because they knew that a field goal was going to win it for them. So I think that they just. Sometimes John Harbaugh gets a little too confident with his offense and his quarterback, and he gets a little too ahead of himself when it comes to stuff like that. And sometimes it works out, when you make a call like that and you look like a genius, and then, when it doesn't work out, everybody's going to second guess you, and it didn't work out, and they lost that football game. And the Bills are good. Josh Allen, he is just an amazing quarterback. Right now, he is the person, if I had to pick one guy to watch in the NFL, I would watch Josh Allen, because it doesn't matter if he's throwing the ball, he's running the ball. It's exciting. You can't take your eyes off of him, right? He's like Nick Bosa on defense. Every snap, I want to watch Nick Bosa. What's he going to do? How is he going to get her? Your eyes just drawn to him, and it's because they're moving at a different speed. They're doing stuff that other people aren't doing, and it's exciting and it's fun to watch. And Josh Allen, I mean, if he can really keep this going throughout the year, they're going to be next to unbeatable. Yeah, they're going to lose some football games because the ball's oblong and it bounces everywhere, and that parity thing we talked about. It happens in football, but they are solid. That was the great comeback win for them. They looked out of it early on, didn't they? I mean, they just looked like Baltimore was smacking them in the mouth and kind of taking them out of what they wanted to do on offense. And then I just think that fourth down when they didn't convert it, it was too big for them to overcome, and the Bills just made the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interception by Jordan Poyer, and at that point, it was ball game. And I remember seeing Marcus Peters was very upset with John Harbaugh on the sideline there. But and after the game, Harbaugh said, he just, like you said, he thought taking the 3 wasn't the way to go. He's like, because if we take the 3 and they get down and score, and he's just like, the field score. I mean, we couldn't stop them all game from driving down the field. So I mean, I don't think we could stop them again. So that's why he decided to go for it. Just didn't work, and so you take with that what you want, but just the Bills proving yet again that they just will never stop, and they will always continue to keep pressing forward and winning football games because they're good, man. They're really good. I don't know.
You said it. They're just a really good football team. Another team you should keep an eye on too that had a tough start to the season, could have won a few more games, looked really good this weekend, are the Raiders. I think really once they really figure out what's going on there on offense. They gave the ball a bunch to Josh Jacobs. He looked good. Derek Carr was making some plays with his feet. He actually figured out how to get the ball to Devontae Adams, which is something he's going to need to do more and more if this team's going to take that next step forward. But this is another one of those similar to the Steelers, right? This is like a long-term thing. They haven't been great so far in the first, under a quarter of the season, but that's a team that can really get things going. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them go on a little run here, put together some wins. Chargers got a big win too. That was necessary for them, and that's a tough division. That's had some speed bumps they've had to overcome here early, and it's been interesting to see how many losses have already happened in that division. So, man, football's great.
It's awesome. Yeah, we love it here. We love covering it. We love watching it. We love talking about it. It's awesome, and just seeing the teams that you don't know, like who's going to be this? Everybody kept, asking this year is like, who's going to be the Bengals of 2022, right? Who's going to be that Cinderella team that's just sneak in there and make the Super Bowl, right? And it's just right now, of course, it's week 4. We're just ending week 4 and going to week 5, so very early to tell. But I mean, who knows what's going to happen, man? It's awesome. That's what we love about the NFL, So
What's wild is that we know so much right now, right? In week 4 and next week in week 5, we're gonna be like, we didn't know what we were talking about.
Right. It just changes from week to week. So I don't know anything anymore. I just don't know anything anymore. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, it's gonna be very interesting rest of the season. And you hate to see these injuries happen to these key players. So we wish the best for them to get better. But hopefully everybody else can stay healthy and good. So good luck to your 49ers, man, this week. And, we want to get the best version of them when we play against them after this game against Tampa. So I know that'll be interesting. But, any last thoughts before we get off the podcast here, Nick?
Yeah, just keep watching, right? Like I said, we don't know what happens from week to week, right? You look at all these experts that go out there and try to predict as many wins as they possibly can, and they don't even get half of them right. So it's a lot of fun. It's great. I love that we have another 4 games this weekend with those London games. I set my alarm. It's much earlier over here on the West Coast. I got to get up at 6:30 to watch those games, but I do it because, man, football is life, right?
Yes, it is. It's life. But yeah, man. But thanks, Nick, for joining us here on the podcast. As always, we love having you on. We love your energy and your enthusiasm. Here on Jay's Fifth Down. And again, good luck to San Francisco, your team, and hopefully they can get the win there. And make sure you guys check out Locked On 49ers there. And of course, check us out here on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. This has been Jay and Gay again, your host, and Nick Winkler. Just wishing you a great rest of your week, and hey, more football coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. But thanks again, Nick.
You bet. My pleasure, Jay. Keep up the good work.
Of course.